Hello, Earthlings. It's time to reset your cultural dial. Coming your way next on your favorite device, from the Hoosier State to all the ships at sea, it's the Crawfordsville Peachcast. And now, here's your second or third favorite Dave from Indiana, Dave Peach. Warning, other people named Dave may also appear.
Thanks, CD. Crawfordsville Peachcast. I'm Dave Peach, and I'm joined by...
Dave Meyer. Dave Peach, hello.
Dave, how are you?
I'm grand. I'm dandy. I'm happy to be back on the Peachcast, Dave.
Today, it is The Right Stuff, a movie that was made in 1983. It was 3 hours and 12 minutes long. It took me a while to get through it. There were several familiar characters, or I should say several familiar actors and actresses in the movie. It was set to be an epic movie. We'll talk about what happened and the critical acclaim and the box office bust that it was. The Right Stuff.
All that.
Yeah. This is our 69th movie, Untoasted, Season 4.
Okay, 69th movie from 1983, the year of my graduation from Newcastle Chrysler High School. Not just Newcastle High School as that's known today. We were very much ahead of the curve, Dave, at that time in corporate sponsorship, and people just didn't realize it because we didn't talk about it. Anywho, Dave, I'm glad to be back. Well, how do we start? Where do we go? Do we describe the plot? I mean, it's part of history, and it's kind of, we're taking a postcard here, a postcard of a book, right? And then it's a big postcard, 3-hour postcard, Dave. It's a long postcard.
Did Chrysler pay Newcastle anything? Or was that just a throw-in?
Dave, there is, I can't speak definitively on, Henry County historical history, but I think at one time there was something was tendered. It may have been in equipment or possibly land. I don't know exactly. But we were officially known at one time as Walter P. Chrysler. So there wasn't just enough Chrysler. It was like we had the whole guy's name in there even.
Was there a huge Chrysler plant in Newcastle?
Oh, exactly.
Dr. Obvious, yeah.
At one time.
And it's not there anymore.
Not since, I would say, late 80s, early 90s.
Is it still the largest high school gym in the world?
Yes, Dave. And a few years ago, that was disputed. There were some different, census takers of that ilk. Newcastle actually rallied because they were no longer number one. The city went back, basically made sure they shored it up somehow because some of ours involved some seating that was extra that they put up at sectional and regional time. So, and part of what, though, I guess how they figured too was Newcastle's had big seats. It's a field house. They're not
the city
really
of big seats.
City of big seats, Dave. But when they
because they eat all the donuts at that one place, right?
Right.
They need the big seats.
It's the Jack's Donut effect. And if
the
you're
original
local,
Jack's Donuts was in Newcastle.
It still is. It still is.
Well, I mean, it was and is. Yeah,
it's still. But
his name was Jack, and it still is Jack. Yeah.
Yes, Jack has been at the helm for quite a while, and I think Jack's grandson is now the guy that's franchised it everywhere.
Yeah. Okay.
But Newcastle, we don't want to get stuck on this, but yes, Newcastle had a Chrysler plant when I was growing up, and a lot of people that I know and families who live there, they could trace their origins to somebody getting a job at Chrysler.
Well, let's move on to The Right Stuff, 1983. We'll go over the cast here. Sam Shepard, Chuck Yeager. Now, Chuck Yeager in this movie is always there. He's kind of around, but he doesn't figure into the Mercury 7.
No, he's not. It's an interesting take on, because basically the Chuck Yeager is kind of the setup. Out of the Chuck Yeager mold, which he kind of remained the king of as the space program kicked off. He was still of the World War II pilot, Chuck Yeager, who then proceeded to make and break all the speed records for quite a period of aviation and in our world.
Central Indiana Rubber Products provides the power for you. Central Indiana Rubber Products, or CIR, keeps farm equipment and local manufacturing processes running with gaskets, belts, seals, and O-rings, among a variety of other products and services. Employee-owned and always customer-focused. Central Indiana Rubber Products, 989 West, 83 North, Crawfordsville, and at indianarubber.com. Central Indiana Rubber Products, or CIR, power for you. Scott Glenn, Alan Shepard, Ed Harris, John Glenn, Dennis Quaid, Gordon Cooper, Fred Ward, Gus Grissom. Then we get into Barbara Hershey as Glennis Yeager, Kim Stanley, Pancho Barnes, Veronica Cartwright, Betty Grissom, Pamela Reed as Trudy Cooper. Eric Severide played himself. Then the recruiters were Jeff Goldblum and Harry Shearer.
Yes.
We had the permanent press corps. I don't know if you saw that.
Right. They were a group, a comedy troupe, I think, is how who they were in real life.
So they just brought him in and they called him the permanent press corps.
I think so, yes.
The book was by Thomas Wolfe. Is he the guy that can't go home again?
Tom Wolfe.
Look, Homeward Angel. It's not Thomas.
Yes.
I want to give him his due.
I think there's a difference between Thomas and Tom.
Oh my!
Wolfe.
Well, but did Tom Wolfe do that Look, Homeward Angel book?
Tom Wolfe was more the electric Kool-Aid acid test, and what was the last one? He's no longer with us, but he did. Was it Barbarians at the Gate, or which was a.
Do we have like a Tony Francioso, James Franciscus thing going here?
We do have a little bit, Dave. Did you notice Anthony Munoz, former Cincinnati Bengal, in this movie?
Was that really him?
Dave.
I thought it was somebody. I didn't think it was him. I thought it was a different Anthony Munoz. I did not know that.
No, he played Gonzalez. Now, but here's the trick, Dave. I hate to, and it's in Wikipedia, so I'm sure he's over it. But they dubbed his voice, Dave.
Oh my!
They dubbed his voice.
What?
Yeah.
Crazy.
But he was in it. He was there. So that was happening.
Well, what makes this movie Untoasted for me is that Thomas Wolfe, whatever his name is, and whatever he wrote,
guy.
how many Wolves there are out there. He didn't like the flick.
No, he did not. He did not, Dave.
And he gave all the money. He gave all the money that he made from it to charity, I think.
Right.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe he kept the money. I don't know. Kind of like Donald Fagen not liking Yacht Rock, but I bet he keeps the checks that Yacht Rock provides. But anyway, Thomas Wolfe. I did want to get a Donald Fagen reference in there because people do wager on this show, and that was one of the big prop bets, how I would work that in. But Tom Wolfe did not like the flick.
No,
I used flick twice. That was another prop bet. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome, Herman. You're welcome, Herman.
All in a 5-minute.
8-1. 8-1.
You've got to fast forward to this place.
Yeah.
Okay, William Goldman, big script writer that did all kinds of stuff. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Men. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
He saw a basketball game in Newcastle. He was appreciative that the seats were so big.
He was. He liked it because he's a wide.
He's big.
He's a wide bottom.
Wide.
Supposedly related to Cal Raleigh, Dave. Now the Seattle Mariners catcher.
We got it. Boy, we're going all over the place.
Do you know his nickname, Dave?
What's his nickname?
If you don't know it, I want you to look it up, and I'll fill time.
What's his name?
Cal Raleigh. He is having a sensational year. Broke the record for home runs for baseball for a catcher.
We'll take a timeout later and look it up.
Okay,
but
we will take a timeout.
But getting back to kind of how this movie is untoasted when it's what some people would call an epic movie, 3 hours and 12 minutes long with an all-star cast. It was disappointing at the box office. The author hated it, and the Mercury 7 astronauts were very negative about the film.
Very, very
So
negative.
the audience didn't like it. The astronauts didn't like it. The author didn't like it.
Yes.
But the critics loved it.
The critics loved it, and therefore it became a darling of the critics and won some. Got nominated for a lot.
Won
of stuff.
4 Oscars, mainly for music and stuff.
But I would say the music was pretty good. Like it was pretty. The music made it bigger. I'd say in places.
Yes,
and it was pretty big in the places that it was big. Yeah, there's it could have been tighter, Dave. Yeah, it could have been tighter.
Well, the astronauts called it Wally Schirra called it Animal House in space. I don't think I would go quite that far.
Well, and again, this is okay. If you were a guy and you were, because it's hard to look back on your youth that gets condensed into a dramatic narrative and think, yeah, that's exactly. They got it. Now, I will say this. Chuck Yeager, if I'm correct, let me find. Here's what Chuck Yeager said. He said, Sam Shepard is not a real flamboyant actor. I'm not a real flamboyant type. He played his role the way I fly airplanes. So he didn't knock it. But I don't know. I'm sure it's hard for those guys to look at any of those portrayals, and go, "Oh yeah, that guy."
I'm thinking I can't get around this Thomas Wolfe thing because I think one of them did a movie that was I'm thinking the one that the Bonfire of the Vanities.
Bonfire. That's exactly. This is the same one.
Okay, it's the same one. Okay, I got it. But
yes.
we haven't done Bonfire of the Vanities. Okay, I got it. And then one had a connection. There's somehow we got on that when we talked about I think Club Paradise, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
We're gonna unpack that later, but we got to stay on task here. And similar to the lady in the beginning of the movie Cliffhanger. Remember her?
Right.
Yes, and that scene that no one who's ever seen Cliffhanger will ever forget. I think about it often. Every time I look down at a dish drain, I'm thinking, "Don't let me die, Gabe." I'm thinking, okay. I mean, that will haunt you for the rest of your life. Yeah. So it's kind of like, I don't know how you would describe it, but unfortunately, the unknown test pilot has to die. His wife has to react just to kind of prime the pump of the danger that these guys face as the Mercury 7 astronauts. Yeah.
And there's this whole, the movie is called The Right Stuff, and they sometimes kind of come up on that, but there's a couple times when they're like talking about, and it's like, well, whatever it is, they don't talk about it. That's part of it. So this was, not an evocative bunch of people to begin with, These guys were scientists, test engineer, hot dogs. They were like a hybrid that would be hard to, I don't know what those people would be doing today, right? Because that's a certain, what at one point in the movie when the Yeager character says, well, it takes a certain kind of man to volunteer for a suicide mission, basically on TV. He says, the monkey doesn't know that he's sitting on top of a rocket that can explode at any moment. These guys had to be brave in a special kind of way, to want to do this and to, make light of it and come together as a group. So it's kind of interesting in that. It's funny the things like I've read about that are historically accurate versus inaccurate. Like I was thinking, like, did John Glenn's wife really basically tell LBJ, you ain't coming in? Dave, that's true. That actually happened.
I like that.
I was like, wow, okay, that's true. The ponchos thing, it did burn down. Ponchos burned down. That actually happened. Now, Dave, the fun part for me first of all, we got to talk about Levon Helm. Okay. Think about the movie. Think about the band, the music group, the band, right? Like The Wait and played background for Bob Dylan. Well, the drummer for the band was no longer with us, Levon Helm. So Levon Helm, who's in this movie, is the drummer for the band, and he's also, in this case, this movie, he's our narrator. At the very beginning, he's the guy talking, and at the very end, he's the one saying, Gordo Cooper, for that moment was the greatest pilot alive. So now here's the trick. He played Jack Ridley, who, if you read Chuck Yeager's biography, Chuck Yeager, and like he had the highest regard ever for Jack Ridley. Like he helped make Chuck Yeager great, basically. And a lot of the stuff depicted in the movie is accurate of their relationship. But there's a couple of things happen, and like one of them is they're together talking about the space program, right? Chuck and Jack, and this is like 1961 or whatever. And then later, in 1963, at the end of the movie, when he takes that, which was accurate, he did crash. But the fact, Dave, that is kind of messed up there is that Jack Ridley died in a plane crash in 1957. He wasn't alive to hang out with Chuck Yeager in 1960 whatever, nor in 63. So, God love, we got to keep the character we establish alive, and the fact that his voice is at the end, you couldn't kill him, right? You could not kill him. So I get from a storytelling standpoint, but I think that was kind of funny.
Never let the facts get in the way of a good story.
That's exactly right.
And when the legend becomes true, print the legend.
So that is said at the end of
Robert Wool,
the man who fought
Liberty Valance. And Robert Wool quoted it in some HBO thing. So we know that is the case. Now, Yeager rides a horse.
Yes.
Yeager goes to the bar. Yeager breaks the sound barrier.
Yeah.
There's a gathering of pilots, and as you mentioned, they are not worried about the danger. Then we have a family gathering with the flaming hot dog. And my question is, did Mrs. Gordo leave Mr. Gordo?
Oh, you know what? That is a good question, and I do not know the answer. That's one I should look up.
If you are a pilot and there's a gathering with your wives of other pilots and they're in another room, do not hold a flaming hot dog on a little flaming hot dog holder thing and look at her and smile. She will not appreciate that.
Ever.
No. That will not be a good thing.
It was a big moment, and he didn't know it, Dave, but he knew he'd screwed up, or at least was somehow wrong.
I've heard about pushing the envelope, but I've not heard pushing the outside of the envelope, which was mentioned several times in this movie.
Yeah. No, I think.
What's the outside of an envelope?
I don't know. How do you get there to push it?
And who
Dave?
pushes? And how do you push an envelope? And I know there's probably a story and where that came from and all that good stuff, but it doesn't. It's not apparently it's not overtly obvious to me at this point in my life.
No, I don't know, but they said that a lot.
Scott Crossfield. Who's Scott Crossfield?
He was the other. I'd say he was the second in line.
He's the eighth man.
Right, well, in this case, he was like you only know about the biggest of, you only know one pool guy or one, boxer nowadays or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He was the guy number two to Chuck Yeager. And that's where there's a line in the movie, Yeager's been top of the pyramid now for over a decade. Every time somebody goes up and beats him, he just goes up again. And that was mostly, I think, what Scott, like they were, I think it depicted them as like friendly rivals. So they respected each other, but Chuck Yeager always seemed to be the guy that would break the record, whatever it was.
Let's park a little bit with Barbara Hershey, who was in her Hershey-ness. Yes. As a high Hershey-ness level. I don't know when Hannah and her sisters rolled around it. I know she won. I mean, she was a great actress for a long period of time. But
Beaches was around this time.
Yeah,
Dave.
she was very good as Glennis Yeager.
Yes.
And she was in Hoosiers. Barbara Hershey was very good in this movie.
Yes. She didn't have a lot of lines, but everything she kind of did was it helped. You could. It it was either his respect for her or her role kind of in, his life and in the story. It was good. And she was also that whole, if you don't really know the story, and the whole chase on the horse thing, was kind of like, what's happening here? And that, whether or not that was the cause, he did fall and break ribs 2 days before he did that flight. That's accurate.
Barbara Hershey does a lot of acting with her eyes and her facial expressions.
Powerful, Dave. She's this was the height of her Barbara Hershey-ness, and
thank you for
she was
capsulizing that the way I wanted to originally.
I thought you said it that way, Dave.
I kind of did. I kind of meandered a little bit.
Oh,
no Bucks, no Buck Rogers.
I love it, Dave, because like at the time, okay, first of all, in today's world, we can't imagine, or at least I can't, without an astronaut reference, without we knew, but prior to this, it was sci-fi, right? So Buck Rogers, and or I don't know what the others would have been as far as like the sci-fi heroes of space or whatever. So Buck Rogers was the reference that they were using.
A lot happens at the bar.
Yeah.
And there's two bars. One is Gorda, or what is Poncho's.
Yes.
And the other one is the Aqua Bar.
Yeah, the other one is where the astronauts become a sought commodity from the local gentry, based on they're like rock stars. They become like the biggest American combo because it's like, they're bigger than athletes, they're bigger than actors, they're the real deal,
Let's go over some bullet points here. The gum, loan me some, I'll pay you back later. This was, what kind of gum was it?
Beeman's.
I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah.
I can't taste it, but I can see it.
Here's what I remember, because I remember Beeman's as a kid. It had a distinct taste, almost like a peach kind of thing, like a light peach, with a little bit of sour maybe in it.
There was a clove gum that I remember.
Yeah. It had a little of that, but I remember Beeman's, and it was like at the time it seemed to me like it was like an older people's gum.
And then there was a rainbow kind of gum that was associated with animals, and it had like 2 seconds of taste.
Yes.
Once you taste,
they were
it's like,
incredible.
It was done. Okay. And they like
Those
different
first 2
colors.
seconds.
Different
Yeah,
colors. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little about Goldblum and Shear.
I love it. They're the team, and
Jeff Goldblum and Harry Shear are the recruiters in this movie.
They are the recruiters. They don't give an actual names. They are throughout the movie. They kind of help, bring the plot along every time something big happens, or basically their whole thing initially is they are kind of the, the runners in between for the space program, in between all the different sects of the military and, government and I guess the vice president's office and NASA and all that. So they're kind of comedic relief a little bit, but they also kind of have some, they do have some good lines in the movie.
Kind of like in the Mad magazine, the two guys that were kind of like in between the satires.
Yeah, exactly.
What were their names? Do you remember their names? I do not.
I
can't think of that.
I don't.
Look that up on your own. Now,
come on, kids.
Bodily functions and tests are big in this movie, and Chuck Yeager just kind of sits back and says, "Hey, I'm not going to get poked. I don't have to do bodily functions."
Yeah. No, they basically show that first, whatever those guys had to go through in New Mexico was because I don't think they knew what to expect.
Well, a lot happened in New Mexico.
Yeah,
in the 50s, there's a lot going on there, man.
I think a lot was done there, a lot was buried there, Dave.
Hopefully, I don't even know if I want to know everything that was done in New Mexico in the 50s.
No, New Mexico had its appeal.
It's kind of a no man's land out there. Now, here's something, and maybe if this is true or not. The Jose Jimenez deal with Alan Shepard. If that wasn't true, that's a long way to go for something that wasn't true. Is that do you think there was a Jose Jimenez? Did they actually call him Jose?
Yes. Okay. Number one, first of all, Bill Dana was a comedian who created this character kind of around the space program, specifically, I think, at first, before they went up, because he was basically like he was one of the astronauts and we kept crashing. So it was kind of a comedic thing. And it was on Ed Sullivan. So he was huge. So I believe Alan Shepard did some kind of Jose Jimenez. Did he do it to this much? That we don't know.
Well, did they call him Jose?
Yes.
That to me is the question.
If
they called him Jose, I'll give him a pass. Anything else that they made up would be okay. But if they did not actually call him Jose, I'm going to say that was a little bit of a reach.
And I don't think we have documentation of that.
If they did call him Jose.
Yes.
We are now, let's see, if we go 2 hours and 47 more minutes, we will be longer than the film. But
hello.
Something like that.
Dave's dropping some
I'm sorry.
on you kids.
The 7 are introduced at a press conference. They test some rockets, and they are. I mean, did that really happen? Did they really?
Oh yes.
Flame out that many rockets? Man,
absolutely.
Woo,
it was
bad.
Yeah. Can you imagine too, having been selected and trying to maintain, confidence and focus when basically every time that they do that, it took a long time. But what they eventually learned was all of that was, successful in helping them to do what they, eventually were successful in.
Just what makes that little old ant think he can move that rubber tree plant? He's got high hopes.
He did, Dave.
We had high hopes back in the 50s and 60s.
And it was,
Just
original,
what makes that little old ant try to move that rubber tree plant. Everybody knows an ant can't move a rubber tree plant, but he's got hopes. Yeah, that was another one. So while we're at the Aqua Bar, scene number 1, the Russians beat us with a guy in space.
They beat our pants off, Dave. They beat our pants off, said John
I am
Glenn
tired
Cook.
of hearing what a great space program the Russians have. This is your time.
This is your time. Dave, I believe that, at that point of his career, Ed Harris was born to play John Glenn.
You were born to play John Glenn, let me tell you. We get 10 guys to play John Glenn. 9 be better than you, but not this one.
Not this one.
Not this role. Not this role.
In the same way, Dave, as I believe, even though he was not a fan, I believe that Scott Glenn is the perfect Alan Shepard. In fact, he kind of, if you see the pictures of Shepard at that time, he would kind of look like him. So, again, how accurate all the stuff is in there. But I do know Alan Shepard he had a long career, because at one point after he had come and gone through this, they deemed him not able to fly because of an inner ear thing, which a doctor later fixed, and he went up on one of the later Apollo missions, or even one of the Skylabs, I believe.
Well, at marker 1 hour and 49 minutes in this bad boy, it's May 5th, 1961. Alan Shepard goes up in space and needs to take a leak.
Oh, it's good stuff, Dave. And when I say that May 5th, 1961, my sister was born. My sister on that same day. So I love this. This is actually true. Of course, he had to go potty, Dave. He was supposed to it was a 15-minute test flight, so they did not anticipate that he would have to go. But what's great is the entire sequence that they create prior to, where they show them hosing off outside the capsule, and then they cut back to the wife, and you don't see her, but they're all drinking coffee and clinking glasses, and she says, "I think Alan had 4 cups of coffee this morning." And they cut back to him, Dave, and he's wincing, trying to move
and then there's
around.
some lab tech that goes to the bathroom.
And they didn't want him to go, Dave. They did not want him to go.
No.
They were scared of.
We saw a water cooler.
Oh,
I mean, this
bad.
was okay. We get
They
it.
were
We got it.
fattening
We
it
got
up.
it. He's
Yeah,
got to
we
take
get
a
it
leak. I
all.
mean,
Okay.
man, a hammer to the head would have been would have done the same thing. But would have been anyway. I can't think what I was going to say there. But we finally do the lift off, and the media doing media things. They met Jackie, and
Yes.
he
That was
after
big.
after that was done, he really got the full treatment. And then we go back to the Aqua Bar, and then it's Grisham's time to shine. And the quote is, "The hatch just blew."
And Dave, that's actually the way this is portrayed is one of the reasons that all the astronauts basically came out against the movie. Because basically they said that what they said happened during the Liberty Bell 7 that kind of showed him anxious and panicking was inaccurate. In fact, they've gone back and did all this work, and basically what they determined was that it was due to a mechanical failure that was not associated with any direct human contact. Or so, in other words, that he couldn't have blown the hatch, kind of thing.
Well, his wife says that she will be known as the Honorable Mrs. Squirming Hatch Blower. She will not meet Jackie.
No, David.
See, that's
she wanted to meet Jackie.
That's the thing. When in all of this,
Yeah.
your Walter Mitty, whatever you call that, your dreams just kind of go to where you do all of this so that you can meet the president.
Right.
And meet Jackie. And then of course, tell everybody how it was to meet Jackie.
That's what it's all about.
That, and then, so in the old, before social media, now, that all goes away. They're in some kind of flimsy hotel. It's and really
And the eighth grade marching band instead of
it's terrible. It's terrible.
Marines.
And like you said, that's one of the reasons why people that were in the space program are not too high on this movie, the way they treated Gus Grisham.
Yeah. And I mean, also too, the fact, I mean, Gus was considered, if not, because he was number 2 guy up. So, I mean, and not only was he the number 2 guy up, but he was also chosen to lead the very first Apollo. So Gus Grissom was not only a Hoosier, but an incredible pilot and engineer. So I think this was just, they were looking, it's a movie. They needed some drama right there, to kind of turn the corner, and that's how they do it. And it's hard. It makes me think about Jerry West and that HBO series.
Yeah. Okay. The 2:18 mark, John Glenn.
We're almost there, Dave.
Annie Glenn, Mary Jo Deschanel, LBJ, John Glenn, a wiry Ed Harris. The flight was delayed. LBJ was denied. LBJ wants the spotlight. And John Glenn backs up his wife and says, hey, if she doesn't want to talk to LBJ, she does not have to.
Yeah. Powerful, man. How about that?
A little LBJ raking is always appreciated by the masses, right?
The thing is, he's depicted a lot, kind of a little more of a buffoon here, like a naked politician buffoon. Like immediately, okay, don't worry about that. You'll show me taking care of the grieved widow, because he didn't, she's mad, and then when she goes no, you see the car shaking. He's so mad. He's having a temper.
I could bring ABC and NBC and CBS. Okay. Dennis Quaid is Gordo Cooper, and he goes to Australia, and eventually the Fireflies save John Glenn.
We don't know that, and I don't know how much of that is real, but it was cool. God, it was cool for the movie, and I do believe it was accurate that Gordo was down
in
there.
Australia.
Yes. That is accurate. Now the rest of it, I'll have to look that up, Dave. But it was. I mean, again, they needed drama there. It's not. This is. I wonder if this was in the scope of movies, the first one to really depict reentry in this kind of way. Because later, if you've seen the movie Apollo 13, obviously you go through that, and that's a big part of the drama of that movie. But this was really, whether or not Glenn's going to live. And at first you kind of see that, NASA's not even up on telling him that he may not, he may not be in as good a shape as he thinks he is.
Well, why tell him? It's not like, what's he going to do? Call his wife?
Right.
I mean, he's pretty much stuck there. Then we go to Ticker Tape Parade, to a Texas barbecue. The no-name pilot says he is the best. That the no-name pilot would be Gordo. Does Gordo ever get up to space? Up in space?
Yes.
Okay, he does.
Gordo
okay.
did.
Good,
He did.
good.
He was the last of the Mercury 7 to go up.
To make it up.
It was some crazy amount of time he actually, I forget, there was at the time, it was the most anybody had ever, tire rotations around the Earth.
Okay, then we go to this Sally Rand with the feathers and Chuck Yeager Red Zone. We go back and forth, and they kind of
I didn't get that, Dave.
And that I wrote down a note here. I have no idea what it means. Gordo flies high. I don't know if that. I don't know why I wrote that down. But Chuck Yeager, one more hit. Sally Rand, and that's kind of where the movie ends.
And I mean, okay, I did look. Sally Rand was a real stripper. So she was real, whether or not she actually was in front of the Mercury 7, along with her family.
In a mixed audience,
Yeah.
which I guess it doesn't really.
Still, Dave, it does seem a little stretchy.
Little odd.
And intercut with Chuck going down and walking out of the ruins and the fire and looking pretty tough.
Well, The Right Stuff, 1983, movie number 69, The Untoasted, season 4. As we mentioned, I think it was made for $27 million, made 21 at the box office, something like that. That's not good. It did win 4 Oscars. It was critically acclaimed. Your final thoughts on the movie, The Right Stuff?
If you're a history person that's into this era,
I did have one more thing to say.
Okay, Dave.
Go ahead, but you finish
No.
it, and I'll ask a rebuttal question.
Okay, I would say that if you're a history person into this era and you're into the early space program or Chuck Yeager or any version of that, it may definitely be worth your time because it is. If you can see it on a good-sized TV, there's some, dramatic stuff in it, and some cool music. But it's long.
It is long. It is long. Now, Chuck Yeager. This is my rebuttal. This is my redirection.
Okay,
if I was an attorney. Did Chuck Yeager have carte blanche? Is that the way you say that? Carte blanche? Carte blanche? Is it carte blanche?
Something like that. I think I'd go with carte blanche.
Carte blanche.
Okay.
To just fly these airplanes and crash them whenever he wanted to and just eject and say, oh, yeah, by the way, we lost another one. I mean, these things aren't Frisbees. I mean, they are actual, I would assume they're expensive aircrafts. Did he have just, okay, it's Thursday afternoon at 4, here I go. Oh, and by the way, I had to eject and it crashed in the desert.
I will say this, having read a lot about Chuck Yeager and read his biography and stuff, he was, colonel. I think he eventually was a general. So he was a fairly young colonel based on his exploits. I mean, he was a World War II aviation hero long before he ever got into the test pilot program. He was one of the only, he's only a handful of people in World War II who was shot down, who they allowed to go back. Most time you got shot down if you were able to not be captured, that you were done with your time in the service, basically. So, I mean, he was kind of extraordinary from that standpoint. What was your question, Dave?
Was he allowed to just pick up an airplane, get in it, crash it on a Thursday afternoon, eject, and just say eject and crash like you would pick up a toothpick.
No, I think he probably had special privileges, Dave. But anytime you're taking out a supersonic machine, that's got to go through a few levels of approvals.
Not just Ridley giving him a stick of gum.
I think he and Jack doing a nod and a wink with a tower wouldn't have flown in real life, Dave. It's one of those historical, I guess, embellishments would be not only accurate, crazy to presume the premise, right?
Yeah, I kind of got that.
It kind of Maverick in the Tom's, that Maverick, obviously a fictitious character in a movie doing the flyby. But this was, I guess a little before that in the movie, but it was kind of like saying that, in the, those guys, well, that's Jaeger. Obviously he's got permission. Yeah, he's got permission. Don't he? They weren't sure, Dave. Just a little dramatic license at the end of the movie.
Okay, Thomas Wolfe was the big-time author. Tom Wolfe, Bonfire of the Vanities, The Right Stuff. But it's interesting that they were both named Tom. Well, one was Thomas Wolfe and one was Tom Wolfe, and somehow they have some connection to one of our movies in the past. I'll have to look through the notes. I don't have time now, but we will try to get that maybe on an upcoming mixed bag. Right Stuff, 1983. As I look back on this one, I don't want to get too hung up on the length of the movie, but I love Ed Harris. I love that I wasn't that familiar with Scott Glenn, Sam Shepard. Seeing Barbara Hershey in something other than Hoosiers was good for me. Dennis Quaid with that smile, and just seeing this movie for the first time, wire to wire, it was well worth it. I enjoyed it. I followed the space program, and the only thing I guess I'll sum it up is, wow, that's a lot of work to fake the moon landing.
Yeah, exactly. An incredible amount of work. Yeah. And that's one of the things I think about when I read, like, none of these guys liked it or whatever. I thought, if I'm Alan Shepard and I don't like this portrayal of me, because, he was a pretty, he was portrayed as a badass who was very cool, right? I don't know what Ed Harris thought. I would think the same thing, of... I would say Gordo Cooper. How could, the way he's portrayed by Dennis Quaid there had to be pretty, it was a fun-loving guy who in the end did get to become the fastest, greatest pilot alive. So I guess that's where, it might not have been accurate, but to not like it, you weren't drawn in a comical way. Everybody was drawn kind of heroically.
Right Stuff, movie number 69. Number 70 is going to be Tucker, the Man and His Dreams, a 1998 movie. I'm sure, Dave, you know who's in it.
Jeff Bridges, Dave, I'm pretty sure, is the lead of this movie. I also think, if I'm correct, it's a Francis Ford Coppola directed movie, I think.
We'll find out. We will find out.
We're going to find out. A big swing and a miss there if I'm wrong. But this is one of those movies, when it came out, I remember it was one of the first movies where I'm like, hey, I've never heard about this guy. How come I've never heard about this guy? And that's part of what the movie is about, I think. So I'm kind of excited to go back and look at this movie and talk about it. I think, Dave, I may be incorrect here, but I believe Beau Bridges is also in the movie with Brother Jeff.
I think Nash Bridges is in it as well.
Is Nash? And Todd Bridges was the one that I was surprised by, though.
In that disco...
that was quite a time.
Chips episode. Yeah. Coming up later on the Crawfordsville Peach Cast Untoasted, it's going to be Cocktail, Jonathan Livingston Seagold, Mr. Saturday Night, and Grand Canyon. So
we've got a lot to do, Dave.
That'll wind up season 4 of Untoasted. Dave, always great to talk to you. And here's Maverick showing his showing up in the last of it on the YouTube. If this ever does hit YouTube, there's Mav.
Good.
But
Mav has a beautiful coat.
Very nice, very nice. Don't forget, we are on the Crawfordsville Peachcast.podbean.com. Like, share, and subscribe. We're on iHeart, YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and Podbean. For Dave Meyer, I'm Dave Peach. Until next time, America, thanks for listening to the Crawfordsville Peachcast.
Thank you for listening to the Crawfordsville Peachcast. If you enjoyed it, follow the podcast and ring the bell so that way you'll always be up to date with the newest episodes. We'll see you next time.